Hi everyone! It happened that periodically our planet collapses. If you are lucky, holes of different sizes and bottomlessness level are formed in deserted seas, jungles, taiga and tundra, but it also happens that whole cities are under the threat of going underground. In some cases, nature is responsible for such tricks itself, just confronting a person with a fact. But more and more often the blame for such incidents remains with people. I have selected the top of the most beautiful and terrible, large and deep gaps, places where the center of the earth is getting a bit closer. For your attention, the Underworld gates, top 10 worst sinkholes of our planet. Let's start. The number 1 is Dongguan, China. It is in China that sinkholes in the ground are formed especially often. Natural disasters in this vast country are combined with extremely intensive construction, which is often carried out in flagrant violation of all established norms and rules. In summer 2015, the construction of a new underground railway station in the southern Chinese city of Dongguan ended with almost an entire street going underground. The funnel was formed in several stages. First, a minibus fell into the first hole with an area of 80 square meters, and a day later the construction of an almost erected metro station and a part of a city street followed the minibus into the hole, which turned out to be 4 times larger. In this case, 1 person died. Several neighboring buildings were seriously damaged, and the sinkhole formation process itself was captured on video. The second place is Meridian, Mississippi, USA. Visitors who wanted to dine at the IHOP quick service pancake, located in the provincial town of Meridian in the heart of Mississippi, were definitely not prepared for presented for them nature surprise. On November 9, 2015 at 7:15 p.m., a giant trench 180 meters long and 15 meters wide suddenly appeared in a restaurant parking lot. A dozen of clients' cars immediately fell into it. Most likely, the cause of the incident was the prolonged rains that had been going on in Meridian for 2 weeks. By that time, local media reported that a storm collector passed directly under the parking lot, apparently unable to withstand the pressure of the incoming water. According to another version, the sinkhole could arise due to construction work carried out on the site. At the time of the emergency, the IHOP restaurant had been working for a week only, and the construction of the hotel nearby was continuing. Fortunately, the cars were the only ones injured in this incident. Number 3 is Batagay, Yakutia, Russia. For the first time, scientists discovered the Batagay fault in the mid-60s. At that time, it was a relatively small ravine, but over the past 5 decades, it has grown to cyclopean dimensions, a kilometer long, 800 meters wide, and up to 100 meters deep. The sinkhole, reminiscent of an overgrown tadpole, is located in a sparsely populated area near the village of Batagay, where tin mining was started by the prisoners' forces camps before the Great Patriotic War. The emergence of this interesting object is connected with this circumstance. A forest in the vicinity of Batagay was cut down for the needs of the created mine. Subsequently, active melting of permafrost took place in this area, and as a result the topsoil layer fell into the formed voids. From the point of view of the ecology of the region, the ongoing process is still negative, but so far rare tourists here and especially scientists who have received a convenient testing ground for studying permafrost are happy with what happened. According to the Yakut tradition, The remains of a mammoth and ancient plants whose age reached 200,000 years have already been discovered here. Number 4 is Guatemala. On February 23, 2007, in the capital of Guatemala, the city of Guatemala, the trouble was not foreshadowed until an almost perfectly round hole with sheer walls and 100 meters deep appeared right in the middle of a densely populated residential area. In this case, it was not without casualties. As a result of this tragedy, 5 people died at once. Worst of all, these victims were not the last. Just 3 years later, in May 2010, another similar sinkhole, 20 meters wide and 90 meters deep, formed in Guatemala, which completely destroyed a 3-story factory building. As a result of this incident, 15 people have died. Both tragedies were caused by a combination of factors: the leaking sewers and heavy rains that provoked the flooding just eroded the volcanic and limestone rocks on which the city stands. Number 5 is Ein Gedi, Israel. If in Guatemala the case was limited only by 2 sinkholes, then in Israeli oasis of Ein Gedi, located on the coast of a Dead Sea, they are counted in thousands. The reason for their formation was the constant lowering of the Dead Sea level that still continues up to this day. The Dead Sea is one of the saltiest bodies of water on the planet. At the same time, due to the ever-increasing passing of water from the Jordan River that feeds it, the water level in the sea drops at a rate of about a meter per year. The sea-salted rock begins to be actively eroded by fresh groundwater, which in turn leads to the formation of numerous and extensive voids, which are obligatory predecessors of sinkholes. It is extremely difficult to predict their appearance, which poses a serious threat to the touristic potential of the region. Number 6 is Tianke in Sao Ji, China. This is the deepest natural sinkhole of the Earth. An underground river flowing to the Divan Cave in the Chinese municipality of Chunxin has eroded the limestone that forms the local mountains over time. The result was logical. The sinkhole of 662 meters deep and more than a half-kilometer wide. It was discovered by cavers relatively recently, in 1994. Afterward, the hole received a nickname Heavenly Pit. In addition of tourists, the pit was chosen by numerous plants and animals, including the rare clouded leopard. Number 7 is Solikamsk and Berezniki, Russia. For 30 years, starting from 1986, on the territory and the immediate vicinity of the Ural cities of Solikamsk and Berezniki, 6 large deeps have formed at once. Since 30s of the last century, there has been an active mining of potash salts, as a result of which settlements were surrounded by large-scale mine workings. Moreover, the cities that grew over time eventually occupied the territory above them and were separated from the vast underground voids only by a relatively thin cofferdam, 250–350 meters long. Underground salt rock continues to dissolve in groundwater. This process deforms the mine bulkheads left after the workings and ultimately leads to their structural destabilization, mines flooding, the formation of cracks, and technogenic earthquakes. The deeps in Berezniki and Solikamsk continue to increase. That has already led to the resettlement of entire urban areas and fully closing a number of enterprises. Number 8 is Sarinyama, Venezuela. Tepuy, are specific mesas mountains in Venezuela, remnants of an ancient plateau isolated from the rest of the world at their foot. On their flat tops, there is a special world with endemic species of plants and animals that have evolved along their path for millennia. In addition to this circumstance, tepuis are also curious for their numerous karst sinkholes, the largest of which are located on Mount Nama in the Venezuelan state of Bolivar. They were formed during the collapse of the walls of underground rivers tunnels that were pierced the mountain. The largest of the four sinkholes at Nama are Zima Humboldt and Zima Martel, located 700 meters apart, extending 350 meters deep into the tepui. At their bottom, there is a life of its own, including even large trees, and this life was isolated both from the top of the plateau and from the big earth. An unique microcosm in a microcosm discovered only in 1960s. Number 9 is Darvaza, Turkmenistan. This crater in the Turkmen Karakum Desert has a loud nickname, the Hell Gates. From the outside it really looks ominous. In the early 70s, Soviet geologists who were looking for gas near the village of Darvaza first discovered an underground cavity instead, in which all their equipment fell. However, in addition to the cave, there was still gas, which began to seep actively into the environment. Willing to save people and their livestock from the possible poisoning by the products of their earthly excretions, geologists set the gas on fire, hoping that it would quickly burn out. But the scale of the deposit exceeded all their expectations. The Darvaza crater is still burning, becoming a tasty object for extreme tourists. And finally, number 10, the Great Blue Hole, Belize. It is far from the largest or deepest sinkhole on the Earth's surface, but it is definitely the most beautiful. An ordinary karst sinkhole, formed after the collapse of the arches of limestone caves, was flooded by the Caribbean Sea. The result of the nature's work could not fail to please people. Surrounded by a coral reef and azure shallow waters, the Great Blue Hole, 120 meters deep, was explored by the expedition of the outstanding traveler Jacques-Yves Cousteau, who had opened this formation to the general public. Despite its remoteness from the coast and certain danger, especially during high tides that cause unpredictable eddies, now thousands of divers come to this place, sinking to descend to its bottom, see to their own the stalactites growing there, and enjoy the tropical inhabitants on the way down this amazing place. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your likes and comments under the video. Your opinion is very important for me.